Skyrim might not be a horror game, but that doesn't stop these terrifying enemies from transforming brief moments of gameplay into seriously scary experiences. Forget your dragon shouts, you're going to be shouting for your mommy when you run into these ugly mugs. When spelunking in the caverns and chasms beneath Skyrim, the Dragonborn should be worrying about practical things. Cave-ins and darkness and flash floods, not giant nightmare insects with a taste for blood. But that's not how the game works. If there's a cave, players can be assured that there is something creepy, crawly, and aggressive scuttling around in the dark. Chaurus get points for having fewer legs than Frostbite spiders, but their massive, pinching mandibles make this creature anything but cute. Chaurus has been domesticated by the Fulmer, the equally uncute, twisted elf-like creatures that live in the lightless depths underground. The Chaurus hunt using their razor-sharp pincers and a caustic poison that they spray as they chitter and click. This can momentarily blind their opponents, and the time it takes them to blink away the acid can be crucial. These things are pretty fast. Not only that, but they like to stick together in packs to gang up on their enemies. Being splattered with poison from multiple enemies can spell a quick end for players without good poison resistance. Magic comes with a price. Usually in Skyrim, that price is magicka, relatively cheap and easy to replenish with potions and leveling certain skills. However, it has been recorded that some witches were unsatisfied with the magic that they had and thus sought ways to find more power. When a witch trades their humanity in order to gain greater powers, they are transformed into one of the most hideous creatures in all of Skyrim, the Hagraven. The name is apt. Hagravens are, well, woman-crow hybrids. They have clawed hands and feet, black feathers lining their arms, and an impossibly long beak-like nose below their beady black eyes. The dark magic they possess in their scraggly bodies is just as ugly. If you get too close to a Hagraven, players may be infected with brain rot, a disease that drains the victim's magicka and can be healed by eating garlic bread.
Garlic bread is my favorite food. I could honestly eat it for every meal. Or just eat it all the time without even stopping.
Hagravens consider people as nothing more than potion ingredients, or in some cases, a food source. They have no qualms with human sacrifice, something to keep in mind when players hear their heavy, rasping breath in the dark woods at night. Should the Dragonborn dare to venture to a wholly foreign plane of existence, it's safe to assume that the local wildlife might look a little strange. The Oblivion Plane of Apocrypha is a hostile, hazy green with roiling seas of toxic sludge and grasping black tentacles. There are also quite a few books lying around that belong to the master of the plane, Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Fate. These books of forbidden knowledge are guarded by the creature from the Black Lagoon himself, the Lurker. Fishy and huge, Lurkers look like the unholy child of a giant and an anglerfish. They have sharp fins and claws, but mostly throw around their weight to do damage. And they can do some serious damage, stomping around at near double the height of the player and gurgling their battle cry. Keeping with the motif of the Plane of Apocrypha, Lurkers will vomit up thrashing poison tentacles. They also have a ranged acid attack if that wasn't enough to ward off a determined Dovahkiin, meaning they're hard to fight and even harder to kill. Apocrypha is essentially a vast Lovecraftian library with an infinite amount of books, scrolls, and tablets for Hermaeus Mora to peruse. Whereas Lurkers are the guardians of the realm, Seekers could be called the librarians of the Apocrypha. The design of Seekers is clearly inspired by the Dark Lord Cthulhu himself. The creature's head is all tentacles and eyes. Seekers float just off the ground, even more tentacles dragging along as they wander between stacks of books. If their undulating tentacle beards are too much to bear, then no worries. When Seekers get pulled into battle, they may turn into a mass of black mist, their speed increasing tremendously as they move to catch their prey off guard. Seekers drain the life and magicka of their victims, relying on magic, seeing as their skinny arms are not too intimidating. Players would do well not to underestimate them, however, because even when near death, Seekers are persistent. They are known to summon clones of themselves to aid in their onslaught for a double dose of but-ugly brutality. Draugr can be annoying at worst, scary at best. After a while, these undead warriors become more of a nuisance than anything. But discerning Dragonborn need not worry, because Skyrim has much more powerful undead in store for players, waiting in sarcophagi for the right moment to strike. The Dragon Priests once ruled over all of Skyrim. Indeed, all of Tamriel. So godlike were their powers that they were believed to be children of Akatosh, the chief deity among all the divines. The Dragon Priests bowed to no one, save the dragon overlords that they served. Dragons, being dragons, were satisfied with the respect they were given as rulers of the world, but didn't want to bother with the actual ruling. That's where the Dragon Priests came in. By the time the Dragonborn is exploring tombs by torchlight, however, the Dragon Priests have shriveled down to shadows of their former selves. They entombed themselves with their followers, whose life force would sustain them as they awaited the day that Alduin would cast his shadow upon the land and resurrect the faithful. Thus, Dragon Priests will pack a heck of a punch if a player is unlucky enough to wake one. These lich-like nightmares have Dovazor names that translate to words like horrible and vengeance, which speaks to their nature just as their command of the dead does. And we don't even want to know what their breath smells like. Yuck. The Dragonborn would take care not to follow any strange lights that they spot in the snow. Hard enough to see as they are white on white, wisps can be harmless, but are more often than not a herald of a much more dangerous creature lurking in the snowdrifts. If wisps are like bees, then the ghostly Wispmother is the queen. Angry and with a whole swarm of stinging, jingling wisps at her disposal. Not to mention her startling appearance. Wispmothers appear to be made out of ice and fog. They are covered in icy wrappings that do nothing to protect their insubstantial bodies from the cold. Rather, Wispmothers command the cold, using a blizzard of frost spells should they spot a victim, alongside their strange, ghostly children. They have clawed hands and fangs, but their pointed ears seem to indicate one theory about their unknown origins. According to one book in the game, Wispmothers are known to put travelers in peril and steal children, and her wisps are the souls of these doomed victims. There is some scholarly disagreement as to what Wispmothers actually are though. One theory contests that they are ghosts of sorceresses who traded their mortal lives for power, similar to Hagravens. Another theory persists that they are the last remnants of the Snow Elves, who once populated Skyrim. This is one Skyrim foe that even the beefiest Dragonborn will struggle to make bleed, and that's because this guy is nothing but nuts and bolts. Dwarven centurions are weapons of war left long forgotten in ancient Dwemer ruins. But layers of dust and cobwebs won't stop these mechanical men from springing to life as soon as they spot the player. Bethesda took a page from its own book in constructing the Centurions. They're like Fallout's own power armor, slow but deadly. Really, speed is the only weakness that Centurions have. They're huge, sturdy, and steamy. Literally steamy. Their one ranged attack is spraying scalding steam at the player. Should the player dare to get close to these absolute juggernauts, then they are in for a nasty surprise. Of course, the Dwemer outfitted their Centurions with not one, but two weapons. Centurions are inherently dual wielders with one arm, an axe, and the other a hammer, with which they are more than happy to bash their opponent around with, all the while looking on with their expressionless bronze face. Gives us shivers just thinking about it. If you think it's safe to say whatever a Hagraven is working on is some unholy abomination caught somewhere in the purgatory between life and death, then you'd be right. Horrifying, unholy, and terrifying are all good words to describe a Forsworn Briarheart. These creatures were powerful to begin with. Only the best of the once human Forsworn are chosen for the privilege of having, get ready for this, their hearts ripped out and replaced with a Briarheart. And then their whole kit and caboodle hit with a healthy dose of Hagraven dark magic. Their headdress of antlers and fur show little of their face, making them appear to have antlers protruding from their eyes as they charge at their prey. They are usually level with the Dragonborn and are hard to take down, unless the player has been leveling their sneak skill tree and are willing to get their hands dirty. It is possible to pickpocket the Briarheart straight from the chest of a Forsworn Briarheart, killing them instantly. Brutal.
That's some cold
Vampires have been romanticized by the media. They're just misunderstood, brooding creatures who only wish to find love and be accepted. Skyrim does us all a favor and portrays vampires in a much more classic fashion as opposed to their contemporary counterparts. Skyrim vampires are dark creatures that are out for blood rather than romance, though they can blend in with society, minus a telling pun here and there and an aversion to sunlight. Others are left to become feral in the wilderness. Volkihar vampires are desperate, hissing creatures who seek out blood where they can find it before returning to their underground dens. It is said that they live under the frozen lakes of Skyrim and can reach through the ice to close their clawed hands around the ankle of an unsuspecting hiker without even breaking the surface. The idea of looking through the ice and seeing a red-eyed apparition beneath would make anyone shiver. If that's not creepy enough, get this. They can even attack in broad daylight, because although the sunlight weakens them, they will not burst into flames like their vampiric brethren. Well, unless the player lobs a fireball at them, because vampires are pretty flammable. Burn, baby, burn!
What a hothead.
Arachnophobes, beware. You're gonna want to look away for this one. Ready? Here we go. Frostbite spiders are like regular spiders, too many legs, too many eyes, but with the added bonus that some are the size of a horse. They can and will eat people with their gnashing mandibles, snatching victims up with surprising speed as they skitter over the ground. They're the most loathed creature in Skyrim for good reason. They're hostile to all things, and even if players manage to outrun these fearsome, creepy crawlies, they might get caught up in their webs, or get a face full of acid for their trouble. Spiders suck. Frostbite spiders are worse. Their spiky legs and beady black eyes are nightmare fuel for anyone who isn't exactly in love with these eight-legged freaks. The horror. The horror. Like their internet prankster counterparts, trolls are just plain ugly, dumb, and entirely undateable. These creatures are absolutely monstrous with long arms, a mouthful of fangs, and a never-back-down attitude that means a harrowing battle in store for players. Frost trolls are even more resilient than their more common cousin. Their natural habitat is wherever snow can be found, although their white fur doesn't do much to hide their warts, horns, and glaring third eye. Players may fondly remember that one of the most difficult battles early in the game involves a frost troll. On the way up to High Hrothgar, this wicked creature awaits. Because of how hearty and angry frost trolls are, this is one fight that the newly minted Dragonborn might not be able to win the first time around. Frustratingly, frost trolls can regenerate their health, meaning a battle might go on for a long, long time. Just like arguing with someone on the internet, it really begs the question, is this really worth it? The answer is predictably no. Might as well just pack up your things, throw in the towel, and go hit up the garlic bread stand. But be careful not to overdo it. You don't want to end up over encumbered.
Bread makes you fat.
Bread makes you fat?
Check out one of our new videos right here. Plus, even more SVG videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.